Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a video on my thoughts of Series 7 of Doctor Who. Not going to go through every single episode and whatnot. I have reviewed this box set already before, so if you want more of an in-depth video about the discs and the design of the box, the packaging, and the overall sort of individual sort of feelings about most of the episodes and the bonus features and so on, you can go watch that video. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this video because it's quite an oddity, really. Overall, this series is rather mishmashy, really. You got the first half with sort of these sort of blockbuster film idea. I mean, I think the one thing that I will say is that it was very sort of bold. It was a very big and bold idea from Stephen Moffat, but the thing is that I just don't get is like, it was just like Doctor Who normally, but with its normal budget, but just like hyped up and marketed as though it was a film, when really Asylum of the Daleks wasn't really film worthy, in my opinion. You know, it's not like they extended the running time, or they had money of a film. You know, like the 50th anniversary and Deep Breath, they are two longer episodes than usual, and they have sort of that budget of a film, you know, and you can kind of tell, you know, you got John Hurt in the 50th, so that shows that you kind of got money to spend. You've got even bigger explosions and visuals, and it's in 3D for the 50th, which works for the 50th because it's a one-off, whereas this is sort of how many? Asylum of the Daleks, Dinosaurs, Town Called Mercy, Para 3, and Angels Take Manhattan, 5 episodes. You can't really have 5 episodes of a show to that same scale because the money-wise, that'd be astronomical. But yeah, I think that's where, personally, for me, the first half of Series 7 failed, because, in that sense, because for me, it, as I say, it just didn't have that scope, it didn't have that cinematic direction, because it's not like Moffat could afford to pay, you know, like, directors who were, like, movie quality, you know? So you still got the sort of same old good people who do the direction for Doctor Who, but saying, you know, oh, this Asylum of the Daleks is like a new blockbuster and it's going to be better than the last Dalek story and blah 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 and stuff, and then not really being able to follow through on that, personally anyway. I know that there's probably people who prefer the first half of Series 7 or to other series. Also, because it was like done in a movie way, first half, there's not really any story arc, except maybe a little bit of a subplot about Amy and Rory getting divorced and that, which I thought was pretty stupid, because it was done in little minisodes in Pond Life, which I thought was... they were entertaining, but to also then be forced to kind of have this massive story in minisodes just doesn't work. It should have just been done in the normal episodes, but then that would have made them all tie into one another, and that would have been the opposite of having them all individual and sort of big and bold and separate and different from one another. I also really hated the title sequence of the every individual one. Like, the text of Doctor Who would be in the style of that episode, and it just was weird. But Series 7 Part 2... so we go from Angels Take Manhattan to The Snowmen, Bells of St. John, Rings of Acton, Cold War, Hyde, Journey to Centre, TARDIS, Crimson Horror, Nightmare in Silver, and Name of the Doctor. I think that the second half is better, because at least there's somewhat of a story arc, but because I felt like, because the second half is like a whole series, it feels really rushed, because it doesn't have that time to expand like a full series should. So it feels very, like, crammed into one half of a series, as it has been. And I think Jenna Louise Coleman should have been the companion throughout this whole series, and Rory and Amy should have left at the end of the God Complex, personally. Because it would have just been better, because at least then there'd have been a whole sort of story arc there, and also the fact that, as I say, Asylum of the Daleks kind of connects then with the Snowmen, which then connects with Bells of St. John, because they all have Jenna Louise Coleman in it, but she's different characters in every one. She's only the same character in Bells of St. John onwards to Name of the Doctor, and then we realise why she's been in Asylum and the Snowmen, but it's rather somewhat weird and irritating looking back anyway in hindsight, because, you know, Moffat was like, oh, all these, like, you know, films, the first half will be all like films. Well, not really, because Asylum of the Daleks is then connected to the second half of the series, so why did you ever make it sort of a film like, or want to make it like film like? But again, with the Great Intelligence introduced in the Snowmen, it was a better idea. At least he sort of tried to make a story arc, and it was nowhere near as convoluted and complex as Series 6. But then I could argue it was too simplified then. It just didn't have that substance. It didn't have that sort of oomph to it. I think the best, personally, throughout Matt Smith's tenure anyway, I think the best sort of Stephen Moffat story arc was Series 5. It was simple, but it was intriguing, and it was different, and it was simple, but in a good way, and in a way where I felt like the conclusion and the resolution were all well done. Whereas with some of Series 7 Part 2, I didn't feel like that. You all know that obviously Clara's character wasn't well developed in Series 7 Part 2, so there's that. Matt Smith, even, I was going to say David Tennant, Matt Smith is fine in pretty much most of the episodes. There are obviously episodes that I don't particularly like Dinosaurs on the Spaceship, Crimson Horror is pretty crap, The Doctor and the Widow and the Wardrobe, Doctor Window and the Wardrobe should just be an episode that people on death row should watch, it's that bad. Nightmare in Silver, yeah, that one is pretty much a nightmare. But to be fair, Neil Gaiman did say that he wanted that to be a two-parter, and that's another thing, he got rid of all two-parters in this season, again, budget and money-wise. But then, I don't get why then he says, yeah, like, we want to make it bigger and better with movie-wise and so on. But I don't know, I mean, again, it just all feels very disjointed, because you got all these individual movie ones at first, and then you got this, like, really rushed, compact sort of series, which would have been so much better if it was just all one series. If this was all, like, with Clara and the 11th Doctor and sort of, that sort of, like, all of Series 8 was just one whole series with Clara's character, this would have worked better, I think. As I say, Amy and Rory should have just left in God Complex like they did, and then for whatever reason came back in Wedding, a River Song and Asylum and so on. But I don't know, it's just very weird series. I just thought I'd give you my 2 cents on the Series 7 box set, or the Series 7 as a whole in Doctor Who. I think it's a lot better overall. It's a lot better than Series 6 in my opinion. It's got a lot of better episodes. As a series, it's a lot better. And it has got some really good episodes. Name of the Doctor, A Town Called Mercy, I absolutely adore. The Snowmen, that one's a good one. Cold War. You know, there are good episodes, it's just that it feels very disjointed, and I also hate the title sequence in the second half, so there's no good title sequence in this series in my opinion. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, but I don't care, bring it on, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I'd love to know what everyone else thinks of Series 7, which is Matt Smith's last series. Again, that's another thing, I feel like his Doctor was getting somewhat darker towards the end of his tenure, and I feel like it would have been nice if we got another series with him, just to see, you know, sort of the stories with Capaldi, like Flatline and Mummy on the Orient Express, being that dark, with Matt Smith's darker Doctor with his sort of purple jacket, which is, yeah, purple jacket Doctor, or purple tweed jacket, but yeah. As always, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.